Welcome, everybody, to the PHDJ podcast. My name is Mike.
Yes, sir. And this is Joe Bunn.
What's going on with you, Joe?
We're back. Everybody's back. I'm excited. New episode.
Went to a concert last night?
Yes, sir. Me and Colin went to see... Yeah, I did.
How old is that one?
13.
I think that's phenomenal. My dad took me to baseball games, which was great, but I never went to a concert with my dad. How cool is that? Who'd you go to see?
G-Eazy and Lil Uzi Vert.
Now, this was your call or this was Colin's call?
You know
what? You
what?
have gone to see that show if your boy wasn't into it?
I love G-Eazy. And he loves Uzi. So it just kind of was the best of both worlds. I guess it was just a collaborative effort. We asked Ainsley and we asked Davis, and they both gave a hard no. So I
asked them to go.
Yeah, I asked them to go. Right.
Okay. And they were like, "No, thank you. We'll stay home."
Yeah.
And yes, isn't this like the first week of school?
Technically, it's the second week. No, yeah, it was the second week. So they were off. It would have been a lot better if it was on Sunday because they didn't have school Monday, of course, because of Labor Day. But hey, man, I don't know. We dipped out a little bit early.
Did he get to school on time this morning?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he made it.
All right, so that's a good lesson. You taught him that even when you go out and party, you still got to get up and go to school. So even if he sleeps through half his classes today,
he's going to be struggling. I can assure you.
He'll have a lot of cool stories to tell his classmates. Well, good for you, man. That's awesome. You and I have talked often about. I respect the fact that you still love music and especially new music.
Yeah.
I think I'm more of an older band kind of guy. Like my concerts are usually the older bands, but you really stay on the cutting edge with the new stuff. I respect that.
I love a show, man. Bonacisi is every day I post, Instagram story of a concert, and he's like, another one? And he's like, I'd hate to see the budget for your concerts. And I'm like, you don't want to see
cool. Well, speaking of new music, this is our first show after Labor Day. So I guess officially, even though summer doesn't end for another couple of weeks, officially, I guess summer's over.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the song of the summer. Was there one for you? Was there one? I mean, I know what Billboard would tell you. It was Drake, In My Feelings. That was the song. It was number one.
Say that. I didn't know that's what Billboard said, but I would definitely say that.
Dude, it's been the year of Drake. I mean, God's Plan was number one for months, and then Nice for What hit the number one. I think 3 times this spring, and then In My Feelings has been number one. I'm looking at Billboard now since July 21st, and it's still number one. So I mean, it's been the year of Drake.
It's unbelievable, honestly, man. And I'm sitting here looking through the top 50 right now, and out of all these songs, again, the majority. There's a couple of EDM. It's almost all hip hop. It really is.
No doubt. And not only hip hop, but a lot of what they're calling mumble rap nowadays too.
Right. Exactly.
Anything that you're using at events, like what have you broken this summer, or really just expanded to this whole year? What have you broken at your events?
I've definitely played In My Feelings, especially when the dance first came out.
Yeah.
Shiggy Challenge or whatever. I've played Girls Like You, Cardi B.
Yeah.
Usually a little bit faster version or just a little.
Yeah, I have a full tilt version of that I really like.
Yeah,
and
I like that.
Same thing with I Like It by Cardi B. That of all the new songs this year, that's probably the one I've had the most success with. I love the sample of it from that old Latin, I get like that.
All Stars or whatever it was called. Yeah.
Well, they actually sampled.
Oh,
Cardi
that's right.
B actually samples the original because the Blackout All Stars was a remake of that.
Yep.
And she samples the original. But man, I love it. I think it's long and it's a little bit more up tempo than most of today's rap. What's the matter, Mia? You need to go out? You good? So yeah, that's again, I'm going through. Yeah, I'm scrolling down the Billboard. I mean, obviously Perfect is still in the top 20. That's been a great slow song.
That's unbelievable.
The middle I still play from time to time, but I wouldn't exactly say that rocks my dance floor. So yeah, of all the newer ones, I'd say, even though Drake has been number one forever, I'd say I Like It has been the biggest contribution to my dance sets.
I'm sitting here looking through as well, man. Like, even I was a little disappointed No Brainer didn't really take off, or nobody's asked me for it. I don't know about you. Just because I'm the One was so big last year, and it was pretty much the same cast of characters.
Right. What do you think of the Weezer cover of Africa?
Jesus, man.
Is that the most unnecessary thing ever?
Yeah. I mean, if you're going to do something,
exactly, like change it a little bit, make it your own, make it a little harder than the original, or I mean, I think people hear it and go, did Toto just re-release this song? Like, what is
That's
it?
exactly. My mother-in-law, we were riding in the car when I was in Utah earlier this summer, and she goes, "Wow, I haven't heard this in forever." And I was like, "This ain't the one you think it is."
Yeah, this is not the one, but that's how close to the. Yeah, I thought that was just
unnecessary, man. I mean, maybe that's the only way for them to stay pseudo relevant. I don't know.
I guess. Yeah.
I mean, I hate to shit on Weezer, but sorry, that was just.
Yeah,
I don't know. Get your money. I mean, and at the end of the day, Toto or whoever wrote that song is really the one making money.
Yeah, I mean, the songwriter will make some money more than they were making a year ago. But
speaking of, they had between the acts last night. This kid Murder Beats, and he's a producer really. So he had his DJ with him, and he's just kind of walking around hyping up the crowd. But he's not a rapper. But every single song, I'm exaggerating a little bit, but half the songs we just mentioned, Nights for What, God's Plan, like he made them all. So I was with some other people. We had a little.
Oh, really? So dude, he's a producer. Wow.
I'm telling you, Motorsport by Migos, Bad and Bougie Migos, like.
Damn.
And he's a white kid, and just looks like the nerdiest.
What point is he racking
Dude, that's what I was telling. They were like, "Oh my God, these guys got so much money, this, that, and the other." And I was like, "You want to know who's got more money than everybody? That kid right there." I mean, I'm telling you, when I'm telling you that 20 of the biggest hip hop songs that have come out in 2018, he made them. Like silly.
Wow. And you know what? I know fame, sometimes people crave it and everything else, but I think it must be cool to have that level of success and money and still be able to walk the street without being hassled.
They wouldn't know. Absolutely. They wouldn't know him in McDonald's.
I remember when Prince was on Oprah years ago, and he said, he loved his life and everything else, but he said, I haven't been to a mall in 40 years.
Wow.
And, and listen, you could say walking around a mall is probably overrated. You trade everything
especially
for
now.
that level of fame. But it must be kind of cool to be a producer like that, because that guy can walk around anywhere and no one's going to hassle him and ask him for autographs and chase him down. Unlike Drake, who, is enjoying life, but I mean, his privacy is kind of infringed upon. So, I think I would take that. No doubt.
I agree, man, 100%. Or like, I remember that I read this article one time, and it was about Matchbox 20 when they were at their height of fame. And they asked a guitar player, they said, how do you feel about Rob Thomas getting all the attention for this band? And he goes, you know what? I'm going to go jump off my wallet and kill myself.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you can certainly make yourself feel a little bit better by counting all the money.
Exactly. I mean, they were, at that point, probably splitting the money 5 ways,
Yeah. Yeah.
I love it.
All right. So, Joe, my main topic this week, I want to ask you about a post that you put up on Facebook about a week ago. And I will read the post. Go ahead. One of your what?
I was going to say, I usually only drop like one semi-controversial thing a year, and I think this may have been the one.
Did you get a lot of flack on this? Well, let me read it first, and then you can tell me what your feedback was from people in the industry, photographers, everything else. So Joe wrote, I'm going to put this as delicately and respectfully as possible, which is nice of you. Photographers and videographers, please, and you write please in all caps, start shooting the DJs at your events. We get it. No bride wants those photos, but we do. And we have thousands of followers between our company and personal social media channels, and every time we post that photo, we are going to tag your company in it, which leads to more business. In this day and age of social content, media is king. You and I both agree on that. Oh, and we actually need the photos once you start working on that event's edits. Please and thank you. We love you. Then you wrote, sidebar, if there are any pro photographers and videographers in Raleigh's area that would like to start going out on weekends to multiple weddings per day and grabbing shots of me and my guys in their natural habitat. I love that line. Rockin', please DM me. Yes, this is a paying gig. All right, so let's take the first part. Did you get feedback from photographers and videographers?
I mean, I think I'm not going to bore the listeners with the comments section, but if you find that post, what is it, Mike, a week or two ago?
I went back, yesterday. I knew I wanted to talk about this, so I went back. I took maybe 5 minutes scrolling back. You're not like me that you post, 15 times a day. So to go back a week on your page doesn't take that long.
So go backwards and if you really want to see the back and forth, which there's not a lot of forth, go in the comments. But I did not. I think, Mike, after reading through all the comments, which how many are there? Do you have it open there, Mike?
I don't.
Okay.
I just copied and pasted.
I'll be honest with y'all. I mean, I probably think it's in the hundreds of comments, which is absurd for me. I know it got shared dozens and dozens of times by DJs all over the world, really. So, number one, it's obviously a touch point for DJs, right? A couple. And both of them I knew, and they were both local, of people kind of tried to defend themselves. And I think their main objective was, please don't try and hire, some pseudo-pro photographer to come while we're shooting a wedding and we're basically stepping on top of them while they're trying to shoot you.
That was going to be my comment about your second part. But, but
I
let's
probably
get to
went...
that.
Yeah, so I don't want to get into that part, but in terms of
I do. We'll get to that part.
Well,
but
that's what I'm saying.
The first part of this, yeah.
The first part being what, Mike? Remind me.
So did photographers reach out to you and say, "Here's why we don't take those pictures"?
A couple of people reached out to me directly and were like, "I totally get the post. I hope you're not talking about me." And those were the exact people that send me photographs. So I was like, no, we love you. We've used your pictures numerous times.
Right.
The people that commented, the people that made comments, local photographers, were mostly touching on the fact that not to bring somebody else, but they were also trying to defend the fact that they shouldn't have to take that photograph. Mm-hmm. As to which then other photographers, not myself, started to bash them down, saying, hold on now. This is a referral business at the end of the day. We're in the service business. You, me, photographers, anybody really in the wedding business. I think you would agree, especially in this day and age, that the majority of your business comes from blah, blah, blah venue and so-and-so, so-and-so's wedding planning service. Versus back when you and I were starting out, we were putting ads in magazines and the yellow pages and doing every wedding show in town. Like, I think I can agree that a lot of it is referral based, and that's what the guy that really comes to mind was a guy down in Wilmington, kind of jumped on this other photographer's case and was like, listen, I did 60 weddings last year, and I can directly relate 45 of them to coming from other vendors in the area. So what you're saying is not true. Like, it is a referral-based business, and these DJs that are asking for photographs are going to put you at the top of the list when people want a photographer.
Right.
And then they kind of went back and forth, and I just stepped back, and it was like I basically lit a campfire. I took a gallon of gas, I threw it on, and then I just ran.
Well, Joe, it's funny. I often do that on Facebook.
I know you do.
I will put a lot of conversational threads up on Facebook.
Speaking of, do not ask me about the Nike thing.
I rarely weigh in because I like to kind of I look at my job, if you will. I know that's stupid to think of job,
it is your job,
but as like I get the boulder going downhill, and then I just kind of stand at the top of the hill and watch it and
watch the destruction,
how many homes it takes out and how many trees. Yeah, because a lot of times I don't have time. If you notice, I post for the most part early in the morning because I wake up, I have my breakfast, I have my coffee, I read the news, something's, and I post it. But then a lot of times I don't look at Facebook again for 5-6 hours. Maybe at lunchtime I'll peek at it, and I'm like, oh my God, I got 90 comments on that one thread, and I don't have time at that point to read them all. So anyway, I often do the same thing. So here's what I will say. If you had called me with this instead of putting it on Facebook, here's what I would have said to you and what I'll say to anyone else in the industry who has this frustration. I think what has to come first is the referral, and then you can expect the content. And I think photographers might feel the same way, and maybe some of them aren't saying that to you, but I think if they looked at their contract and said, oh, this was referred by Bunn DJ company, well then heck yeah, I'm going to make sure I get pictures of Randy. By the way, happy birthday, Randy. I understand it was a birthday.
I think it was
I'm going to make sure I get pictures of Joe or Randy or whoever else in action. If you send the work to the studio, then I think you're in a much better position to say, hey, by the way, do you mind getting a shot of me and getting it to me and not making me wait 8 months, but could I get it, sooner rather than later? I'd rather do a blog a week after a wedding than 6 months after blah, blah, blah. So Yes, I think it would be great if photographers were more proactive, and even before you referred them, if they worked with, I mean, listen, if I was a photographer working with the DJ company, I would take 4 or 5 shots of that guy or gal and make sure he had them within 3 or 4 days after with my logo on them, watermarked with my name.
Sure.
And I would say, feel free to use this in any social media content, blog, or anywhere else. That's what I would do, because I think I'm pretty proactive, and I see the bigger picture. But if you're having the frustration with not getting the content, step one, I would say to you, be the referrer rather than say, hey, once I get this content, then I'll refer you. Well, refer them, and then you can expect the content. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
But then secondly, I think most listeners now can predict my other point. This is the reason why if you start your own photography studio and your own video studio, you no longer have to have that frustration. I can tell you, I'm sitting on about a dozen weddings right now that I've been too busy to even look through, that I will have pictures, because my photographers are instructed when they work with our staff, make sure they get a shot of the guy on the dance floor, the guy mixing, the guy if he's out there interacting, get those shots from me. So I can tell you, I've got a dozen weddings that I haven't even looked through yet, and in those dozen weddings, I'll probably pull 5 or 6 great shots out of each one. Same thing with video. I can't even tell you how many wedding videos I've got that I haven't edited yet that I can turn into demos. So now that's been years. It's not like we opened a studio 6 months ago and now all of a sudden I've got this content. So it's a slow process.
How long have you been doing this, Mike?
Oh, the video company's over 10 years, and the photo studio, I think we're celebrating 7 years. So it's been a while, but the photo studio shoots at over 100 weddings a year now. So, and most of them are still with our staff. So that's a lot of content now. It's a lot of content for blogging and social media and everything else.
Okay, well, let me ask you a question before we talk about the second part of the post. Let's say Elite Images is shooting a wedding and Jack Bermeo is the DJ. Is Elite Images going to shoot pictures of Jack Bermeo?
I would hope so. I mean, I haven't had the conversation with my photographers that they have to. Yeah. But yeah, why not? And I look through all the weddings, whether it's our DJ or entertainment and not. Yeah. I have sent video footage to a band that I knew. I looked through a video once that was one of the bands that we work with that we recommend, and I sent them the raw footage and said, have at it if you want to, if you want to use this. Yeah. I have sent pictures to officiants that we work with and said, hey, we got this great photo of you. Because again, it's watermarked. It's got our name on it. Right. I would love it if the band goes, yeah, great, I got this great footage from Elite Films. Or if a very popular officiant in our area puts up 3 photos that I sent him from a ceremony that he was doing with Elite Digital on it. That's a win-win all around. So yes, 100%. I practice what I preach. Definitely, no doubt. If Jack Bermeo calls me and says, hey, your photography studio worked with me last night, I'll look through those pictures as soon as I get them, and I'm happy to send him whatever he wants. Perfect. Yeah.
And then yeah, I mean, that was my main question. Again, I think that it's quite evident that you guys have been successful in doing this. Speaking of, and this was kind of my aside, if you follow us on Instagram, which is at PHDJ Workshop, you'll see anytime I post a picture of Mike or anybody from Elite, you'll usually see, like he's mentioning, his watermark, and you'll see how good of a picture that is, because again, his company took it. They were instructed to get X number of shots. So you'll see Jay or Dom or any of Mike's got Mike. I just posted one of myself and Mike both in action, and you'll see how good his shots are, because again, his people know to get the DJ on film. Yeah. I mean, that's something that my photographers are, they know it's expected of them. And it only helps us all, because if I have great images of my DJs, it helps us sell the DJ. And at this point, the studio is still beholden. I mean, they do get some work on their own, but for the most part, both studios, video and photography, get trickle down work. The DJ company is still the main, breadwinner. We book the jobs, and then, you do photography.
photography. Oh, you do video. So, I mean, everyone who works for the company knows, if the DJ company has great content, it's only going to help us all. So that would be my advice about that. So now let's talk about that second part of your post.
Okay.
First of all, did you have any photographers or videographers reach out to you and say, hey, man, I'd love to go out on a Saturday night and go to multiple locations? Okay.
Several.
Would you share with us what you would pay somebody in that situation?
You know what, Mike? I don't know. I don't think I got that far because.
Did you have a figure in mind? Do you want to share? Did you have an hourly rate or?
I would probably pay. And again, my goal was, if I've got Randy at the Capitol Club and I'm at the Merriman Wynn House and so when I'm saying,
Oh, I get it, Joe. I think it's a great idea.
These are within where you stayed here, Mike, at the Hampton Inn. These are all within 2 miles of that hotel.
There are plenty of times I look at my schedule and say, wow, we have 5 DJs within a 10-mile radius.
Yeah.
No doubt. Yes. Yeah. And so I never thought about doing that concept, but when I saw your post, it planted a seed. Yeah, you know what? If I have one of my photographers off on a Saturday night, I could send them here, and here. But you got some negative feedback from photographers.
Right. So,
right? Please don't send
again,
photographers to my web.
Right. So the first part I was saying was the beauty of it would be if you could go, all right, whatever, Chris, all right, I know you're off on this Saturday night. And I probably had, Mike, $50 to $100 an hour in mind. I mean, a legit good rate.
And let's face it, if somebody like that worked 3 hours on a Saturday night, and so that's $300 maybe out of your pocket, and handed you 25 amazing pictures from 4 different weddings that you did, is that worth it? I think so. I mean, that's the power of content nowadays, and marketing. You can turn those pictures into blogs, into social media posts. I mean, there's a lot you can get out of that. So I can see the value in it.
And what I was thinking was, okay, let's start at 4:00, and let's get, Mike is going to be at the so-and-so, and he's going to be doing the ceremony. So just get Mike with his ceremony set up, even if he's in his polo, but just showing that we do ceremony work. And then around 5:00, you can catch Chris over at the so-and-so house, and he should be coming out of cocktails, getting ready to do introductions. Get him doing the introductions and people coming in the room. Then you can catch Randy down here, and he's going to be doing introductions at 7. So get his introductions and get the first dance. And then Bob's going to be down, the street at the blah, blah, blah house and get all his dance footage or something like that. And you're
here's my problem with that plan.
Yeah.
Ceremony and introductions and first dance, those are moments where I can see the professional photographer on the job is going to be like, dude, the last thing I need is one more guy with a camera.
No, I'm speaking of
I've got enough.
But
hear me out.
Oh, I got you.
If you change that plan and say, look, if you get here at 8:30, I should be rocking the dance floor, and then get to this place by 9:30, because. And I understand what photographers say. There's only so many action pictures, dance floor pictures you can get. Most of them don't go into the album.
Right.
And they're hard to get, because if you get 25 people on the dance floor having a great time, you take that picture, guaranteed 1 or 2 are going to have their eyes closed or a weird look on their face. When people sing along to the music, they often make weird contorted faces. So those pictures often don't go anywhere. So you'll notice if you work with a professional photographer, even great ones, by the time you get to the point of rocking your dance floor, they might be watching, and if something outrageous, all of a sudden the bride gets lifted up the chair. Oh, we got to go get right. Somebody jumps to it on the floor and does a worm. But for the most part, they're not taking a million pictures at that moment. So if you are going to pursue what Joe's idea was, my suggestion would be do it later in the night. Stay out of the way during ceremony. Stay out of the way during introductions, first dance. And listen, those pictures would be nice to get. But to me, in my opinion, they're not nearly as critical as Joe behind the booth rocking the dance floor, or a shot behind you with a packed dance floor showing, those are, to me, the money shots that sell my DJs.
Agreed.
The ceremony shots, those are the ones that sell our photography.
Agreed.
That's just my suggestion.
No, agreed. And the one time that I pulled it off, which was earlier the first part, or whatever, the spring wedding season, I really guerrilla styled it. And I think we were offered dinner, and we walked out of the reception room into the older house. And I walked in and I go, and again, so this is after all the formalities are pretty much done. Dinner's happening. Let's say there was one more thing like a cake cutting, and then it was going to be open dancing. And I just kind of sprung it on him. I'm like, hey, just so you know, he'll one of my guys is showing up at about 8.
So you sprung this on the other photographer?
Yep, and everybody there. And I was like, he's going to show up. He's a good kid. I told him to stay out of your way. If he's in your way, just move him. He's going to get some footage for some stuff that we're working on.
Right.
And they were kind of like stunned, but nobody, it was not the right way to handle it. But I think I was so desperate that I just went for it. Luckily, it didn't come back to bite me in the ass. He was out of the way. He was super cordial. And again, all the formalities had been taken care of. But honestly, there's a 1-minute little reel that he put together on Instagram. And also he got this little cool boomerang shot. And then he also got, it just happened that the bride and groom came back there and pretended they were DJing. So I got a picture of me like,
which is a great money shot right there.
And I was like, he just got 3 things in 60 minutes that nobody would have ever gotten or given to me.
Right. Now, I will say this. I know that there are some photographers who have begun to put in their contract that they can be the only professional photographer.
The people that reached out to me.
Right. And again, I think I understand that, because if they're trying to do their job and you have another photographer who's the DJ's guy trying to get pictures for the screens or content pictures, and he steps in his way or ruins a shot or whatever, I do get that. They're trying to do their job, and that job is important. So that's why my suggestion is, if you're going to do something like this, I would suggest do it later in the night. Look at especially if you're a multi-op like Joe was talking about, and you've got 3 DJs, I would send the photographer during the peak dance hours, not during the formalities. You probably get a lot less pushback from the photographer and videographer. Matter of fact, I mean, we have some that leave in the last hour. Yeah. So in the last hour of the event, there ain't nobody left. So maybe your photographer comes in for that.
Well, Mike, I mean, then just since you're giving out advice and I'm trying to be respectful, as I said in the beginning of that post. Who are you approaching then? So say I want my wedding Saturday night. I want some guy to come from literally 10 to 11, last hour of the dancing.
Right.
Do I need to reach out to the bride and groom and to the photographer and to the videographer and get 3 permissions in? Or am I just going guerrilla style?
I think technically you really should, but I think the bride and groom, to me, it all depends on their personality. If they're the type of people that don't want to be the focus of attention and things like that, then I wouldn't even pick that wedding. You know what I mean? But if they're the type of people that let's put it this way, if they have a hashtag, then they're not going to mind. So if they're the type of people that have set up a hashtag for their wedding, in fact, as long as you post those great pictures with their hashtag, they're going to love it. They've got more professional looking content. So yes, at that point, I would talk to the photographer and the videographer, and I would do it in advance. I would do it that week. I would say, hey, by the way, this looks like it's really going to be a great wedding. He's only going to get there late in the night. Are you even going to still be there? Because sometimes I leave after cake cutting. Great. So you won't even be in your way. But if they're still going to be there, just assure the person, and you might hear at that point, well, listen, I prefer him not going. How about I give you some pictures? Right. In which case that might get the conversation moving in that direction in advance. Because if they say to you, well, why do you need to do that? And you say, because I need great content and I don't want to bother you for it. They might say, well, it's no bother. I'll give you 5 pictures. Tricked them. Yeah, I mean, you might wind up having that conversation. It's almost like they called your bluff. You know what I mean?
All right. Well, before we put a bow on this, I want to point out one more thing. I mean, why is my guy coming at the end of the night any different than I'll give you a good example. So I'll give you a good example with your own company or Jan I's company. Y'all go out with a minimum of 2 people. Jan I probably takes 3 if they're doing lights and spark canisters and all that shit y'all do. But my point is, he always has images from his events because I think that he makes that second or third person be the media guy. Now,
We've done that from time to time. It's not, we don't do it as often as Jan and I, but I sometimes will send that second person out with the camera, get some video footage, get some shots, things like that. It really is no different. I guess
he's your assistant, and that's part of his
some guy just showing up for an hour is different than some guy who's been there all night long and happens to have a camera to get some pictures. But no doubt, I mean, there are, we could have a podcast someday about the advantages of the 2-person package versus working by yourself. And one of them is to get content.
Write that down, Mike.
You don't have to, yeah.
And I think at the end of the day, I mean, that is a huge advantage. I think it would be, if I had somebody with me, it 100% would be a requirement. Like, you're the media person, because at the end of the day, and I've told my guys this, I think you and I can both agree how much the rules have changed and bent over the years. I mean, I remember, even a picture you posted recently, like how embarrassing or how the rule was, I don't want to ever see you pull your phone out at an event. Well, now it's like, okay, as a one-man show, I definitely want you to pull your phone out and at least get something for the Instagram story. But I can see a lot of people listening to this going, why don't you just take the pictures your damn self? Because honestly, once that dance floor opens, that's all that I care about is rocking the dance floor. I can't think about pictures. I can't think about being a photographer or, hitting the right angles or is the lighting. No. I want to rock the party, and that's my job. I'm not a photographer.
Yeah, and you can definitely take a quick picture with your phone, but it's not going to be. That's not what we're talking. And going back to the issue that you and I talked about a couple weeks ago, those are good images for an Instagram story. They're not good images. Nope. And by the way, I don't know if you follow them. I'm starting to do my Instagram stories. I've been doing the stories. Yeah, and I see your point about that. You take a dark, blurry, grainy shot. It's good for stories. It's going to be gone in 24 hours. I made my point. But it's the professional pictures that you want to be,
feed worthy.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to add, Mike?
Stuff. Well, we are into September now, so I think, as a matter of fact, I think we should do an episode coming up about the PHDJ workshop, strictly talk about the things that we're going to be discussing. I've had a few people reach out to me about the content and interest. So, we've sold the 1 seat so far, but obviously it's going to be moving forward. So if any of our listeners are interested, we encourage you to go to phdjworkshop.com. You can see the itinerary for the day and a half that's going to happen right after Mobile Beat. And all the different topics we'll be talking about and covering. And if you have any questions, reach out to Joe or I, and we hope to see you there.
Yeah, Mike is definitely going to be there speaking. Not me this year. I'll be. I think they're saving me for 2020. So
just one out. Yeah, it's good. It's good to take one off.
Yes, sir. And so we'll look forward to seeing you guys in Vegas anyway, and definitely at the workshop. And again, as always, subscribe to the podcast if you haven't, and then leave comments wherever you want, or DM Mike and I for future episodes. And we appreciate you guys.
Very good. Good one, Joe.
Yes, sir. Peace.
Have a good week, everybody. Bye.
Later.